So, everybody, thank you for joining us. Welcome to our Don't Be One of the 300,000 agents estimated to be leaving the business in 2023. My name is Josh Kuchar. I am the Director of Marketing Sales here at Shawami. I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. And today I am joined by Matt Kuchar. He has been in the real estate business for over 25 years. Ran dual brokerages, with one of them being in Colorado, one of them being in Florida. In 2016, he started what would later become the largest showing agent on-demand network, also known as Shawami. Matt, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. And we're also joined by Mike Solitro. Mike is the founder and director of AccomplishedRE, where he provides his clients with custom-built solutions. He is also a real estate attorney, a broker associate, and the host of Your 1230 podcast. For more than a decade, Mike has leveraged dispute resolution practices and lean practices to solve complex real estate problems, enhance collaboration, and deliver exceptional results. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good afternoon, everybody. Excited to be here. Josh, thank you for going through that detailed bio. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. All right, just a couple of quick housekeeping things. If you do have questions throughout this webinar, please do send them in the Q&A section. I will do my best to make sure that our speakers answer those questions. They also have access to seeing it. So hopefully while we're actually talking, we're able to answer those. If not, also understand that we're going to leave some time at the very end to answer any that we didn't throughout. That just kind of helps us with keeping the flow going. Again, thank you for joining our monthly webinar, and I'm excited to be diving right on in. And what we're going to do is we're going to first talk about lead generation today. The question is, what's working and what's not working? Mike, Matt, who wants to start this one?
You want me to take that, Matt, or you want to go? Go ahead, you go.
All right, I'll start. I'll do a couple of quick short things. I put a little bit of thought into this. You know, whatever you as an agent can do consistently is a good thing, for especially when it comes to lead generation, right? You know, that's the problem with many of us agents, is that we don't do something consistently. It's easy to jump from, we're doing open houses one week, and then we're doing mailers the next, and then we're trying to pay for SEO or pay-per-click, or, you know, do something that, you know, works for you and do it consistently. That to me is probably one of the best things that I would tell people to do as far as lead generation. Once you go beyond that, right, you start to get into specifics like who, what, where. Research is really key in, like, who's buying homes in today's market. You want to know that, because that's who you want to generate the leads from. You don't want, you know, the high-end market in your area might be, you know, have 2 years worth of inventory. That might not be where you want to be generating leads. So you want to know who's buying in today's market. What are they buying? Are they buying condos, single family? Are they buying, you know, investment homes? And where are they buying them at? So you got to do a little bit of research. And, you know, I wish I had a blanket. Let's all do X, you know, lead gen, but just doesn't work. This is everybody's you know, in a lot of different locations. Mike?
Yeah, no, I like those points. Especially the consistency helps to understand what's working and what's not. So keeping a tally of where your time, energy, and money is going, so you have an idea of what's my return on those things. Because it is important to stick with it. But one of the things I had put down beforehand was to be a multi-channel. So, you know, being consistent is important, but not to just kind of put all my efforts in one basket and to say, okay, here's what I'm going to do for lead generation this week, this quarter, this year, to know, all right, is this working? So to have checkpoints in and say, well, I'm doing a few different things, and I want to know that if I should shift my resources one way or another, I can do that, because our audiences are sophisticated. They're in multiple different places. So, you know, they want to have the similar message in different locations. So it's not just let's hammer these 4 different social media, marketing, mailing, and we'll advertise all the same exact message. We want it to be aligned, because as you talk about, we need to know the what, where, when, and who of our market. But we got to be able to try different things and then to be agile enough to say, all right, I've done this long enough where this is working better. I need to tweak this and so forth. The other thing I wrote down is the two things. One, specific to our core clientele. So while it's important to know what's happening in our market, we want to know that the clients, buyers or sellers that we're approaching, either through our marketing, through our prospecting, that we have value to give to them. We know what they want and we can help them get to where they want to go, because they ultimately will choose a real estate professional based on expertise and what you can take off of their table, what shortcuts you can provide. You're their project manager to get them from either as a buyer looking at property to closing, or a seller listing appointment to, all right, this property is now sold. And it's trying to be everything to everybody is difficult. So understanding who and what is really important, and then seeing where you fit into that equation. And the last thing that I had was starting with, warm leads. And that means different things to people. Sometimes it gets confused with inbound. It can be inbound, but it's understanding that you probably have a book of business from that you've done. So there's repeat, there's referral, and the one that's really overlooked is introductions from people that you know. One thing that I think gets really overlooked in lead generation is your sphere of influence, people that you have first degree connection with. And they don't have to be your family, your brothers, so they can be outside of that. And there's 3, 30, 30,000, whatever number of people that is, that should be your primary focus wherever you are in your real estate focus. Starting there, understanding that this is what I do, this is who I work best with. How can I help those people? And the introduction piece is the interesting one, because you'll hear that, are you interested in buying or selling? Yes, no. Well, yes, so I can work with you. No, and I just walk away. What can be of value with that sphere is, do you know anybody else who's interested in buying or selling? Because somebody opening that door for you, while they may not be a repeat or referral, it is very powerful. So being connected with a power introducer in your market is probably one of the most underutilized tools in lead generation. Quickly, the example there, I talk to my neighbor. It's like, well, I help people sell real estate. Well, I don't know anybody interested, but my son, he's the biggest landscaper in the entire town. And his niche is working with people ready to sell their homes, getting their homes completely pristine on the outside. So while he's not buying or selling, every day he's working with people who are thinking about selling their property. And if there's a relationship there, now that introduction is worth your weight in gold, because you're meeting people ready to sell. You have somebody opening that door for you. So you're not saying, look how great I am, look I'm the best, or I'm the only person in town who can do this. Somebody else is saying that for you. So that's what you want to explore, and starting with the people that you already know. So that's a long-winded answer, but I think that's what's working, that has been what's worked, and will continue both short and long term.
So if you think, go ahead, John. All right. So could you mention multiple spokes of the wheel, right? And I've heard this in my business before, where you want to have leads coming in from a lot. And so one of them, obviously, you talked about was sphere, right? So we're definitely gonna do that. Name a couple of others that people could try that are working for some of your clients right now.
Sure. So as far as I've got on my must list, it starts with that sphere. So it's a connection or reconnection. It's simple. It's people I know, I've stayed in contact with. I'm going to continue that. Or if I haven't been in contact, which is most likely, it's okay to re-engage. Let's reconnect. I've done a bad job at staying in touch. Here's what I've been up to. What are you up to? There's a reason that you're first degree connection. So it's okay to do that. And there's ways to add names and numbers to your CRM and number of contacts there. I won't go into those specific details, but other things that you can do. The one that I love, I call it the promise. And this is, for lack of better words, stolen from another broker that I heard on a podcast. And, we've connected later, and I just told him I love it. And the idea was, when he has a new agent come on to his team, whether they've been working for 2 weeks or 2 decades in real estate, this is where he'll start them based on what they have as far as lead generation. He calls it the promise. And the idea is that you take a listing and that you make a promise to, either, if it's your listing, that's great. But most people say, well, if I had listings, I wouldn't need to go through these exercises. So it's somebody who's either on your team, in your brokerage, in your market, and you make a promise to the listing agent, the owner, whoever the proper person is there, saying, I am not going to rest until I find a buyer for your home. And, that's okay. That sounds great. But then what? Can I do an open house? Do you mind if I market? Can I post something? Can I have a meeting where I talk about this? Sure. Any listing agent is going to be happy, especially in your brokerage, to let you assist them in their marketing. So then you fulfill on that promise. You make it the second piece is, I am not going to rest till I speak to everybody in this zip code, this neighborhood, this town, this state, whatever it is. And that's your starting point. So if you know someone, that's a lot easier to have that conversation. And even if you don't know them, the conversation isn't, are you interested in buying or selling 123 Main Street? Most of the time, buying one, they're going to not be interested in talking to you. Hey, I'm working with Joe Smith. He's listing 123 Main Street. I told him that I was going to call everybody in the zip code until I found the perfect buyer. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not interested in buying, but you know what? My sister's been looking for a house for 2 years and she's had no luck. She's looking for somebody who's proactive and will do, that's great. Let me introduce. And on top of that, my house might be on the market. Would you mind coming up? So now you've got something to open that door that's not intimidating to them, or as intimidating as, are you interested in buying this property? And the listing agent loves you. The owner of the property is like, wow, look what this company is willing to do. And so it helps at the bare minimum. You are starting conversations from what I said, a warm spot, as opposed to that cold. You may not know them, so technically it is still cold, but you've got something to talk about. And then going back to knowing what's happening in your market, why it's a good opportunity to have the property in the market to buy, and so forth. So I love that one, because that one's easy. Anybody can do it. If you have a listing, it makes it a lot easier. But even if you don't, you can help a team member, somebody in your brokerage. And I've worked with clients who do it based on their MLS, that somebody in our MLS has this. So as long as there is a listing in your MLS, this can be done, and it's a starting point. So that's the one that I absolutely, outside of your sphere, I think everybody should give that one a shot.
Awesome. And that really doesn't cost any money. Oh, the thing I love about that is it's, right now, if transactions are down, and money is tight, a phone call costs you nothing. A conversation in the neighborhood, walking a neighborhood, whatever you're doing, it costs you nothing. It's just your time. And the better you get with scripts and that, the better off that you're going to be. There's a couple of sources that work well for me that people have actually given up on. One is direct mail and geographic farming. I live in Fort Myers, Florida. I don't get hardly any mail from realtors. Like I get maybe one thing per month, and it's really not that well done by the agent, right? But at least I'll tell you this, that lady is consistent. So I do see her mail once a month, every 1 month. So I'm sure she's successful. She has listed things in the neighborhood. But if you do what everybody is doing, like social media, and I'm not saying don't do social media. I think you absolutely have to do social media, but you have to think of things that other people might not be doing anymore, and try to do it as affordably and effectively as possible. One thing that I do is they do these magazines, right, in the neighborhoods with all the coupons and stuff like that. I won't go inside the magazine, but if that back page is available, I'll buy that all day long, because it's like I get them shipped for like $1 or like 11 cents a piece, printed and delivered. And if that thing is flipped the right way, it's just like having a full page postcard delivered to somebody. So I've always had really, really good work with the backs of magazines. Now, I also time that at certain times of the year when people are about to list. So like I wouldn't do it in December, right? Because a lot of people are focused on Christmas and end of the year and everything like that. But come January, February, and March, I'm starting to ramp up, because I want to start to build that top of mind awareness for the spring and when people are going to be moving. So I've had, and I've heard many other clients have really good success with direct mail. Again, but you have to be really, do it as affordably as you possibly can. Postcards are one, but I found that the back of these magazines is actually a fraction. In some of them, they even would do inserts. I don't know if they are still doing that, but you could stick an insert in for like a penny, 2 cents a piece, and like it would just fall out when people opened it up. So that was always a good one. Some of the things it might, have you heard anything that's like not working right now, or that's kind of taken a back seat? Because we're talking about the things that are working, but is there anything that you've heard that people are kind of like, it may not be working as well as it used to?
Yeah, and I think we hit on them, and one of might before we hit record. But the social media piece, I agree with you totally that it is something that is a requisite for anybody in the real estate profession they must do. But for that to be your sole, or that I'm posting, so everybody in my friends list, my connections, they're seeing this, that's not happening. So you can't assume that. So there's got to be other ways. So relying solely on social media is something that's no longer working. And the other one that I found, even if it is working today or this week or this quarter, ultimately, and we talked about it with the mattress example up front, is the purchasing of leads. That if you cannot sustain a business model that will sustain itself, at some point, it is a house of cards that will collapse, because there is what we like to think of as, even if the return on that lead you purchase is 2x, 3x, or whatever it is, it's the opportunity cost that you're really not figuring in. Because you're doing that, you're not doing something else, because it's impossible to do everything. So if you are building your business with the idea that I'm going to acquire my leads through this source, or I'm going to buy, buyers list here, you're doing that by giving something else up. And giving that something else up is often much more lucrative and certainly more sustainable in the long run. The last thing I'll say there is that the justification a lot of kind of these services will provide is like, even if you do one deal, it pays for itself. And that kind of makes me cringe, because it's, yes, that might be true on its face, but after 9 months, what was the opportunity cost of things that you could have been doing, should have been doing, that would have benefited your business? So I think the big things are understanding that being in real estate, you need to be able to generate your own business for it to be a long-term solution. And if you can't do that, there are other alternatives, whether it's a change in your team, a change in the way your brokerage operates, or the other aspects before just looking to, all right, I need to outsource this by purchasing. As you said, the affordability piece goes out the window there.
Yep. I will give our listeners one other golden nugget, so to speak, and it's probably not a big secret, but there's a thing that Google has called Google Verified. I don't know if you've heard about it. Josh is really well versed in it, because he's a Google master. But Google Verified, maybe Josh, you could explain a little bit about it, but in certain markets, this could really change your business.
Oh yeah, I mean, Google Verified and even Google SEO was actually going to be part of my next section. I was going to speak onto that later as a long-term actual strategy for coming months to be at the head of the game. But yes, Google Verify is when you create your Google My Profile page, you can go through this little process of verification. These verifications are only available to certain industries, and one of those industries is real estate. When you get that Google verification, that automatically will put you up in the rankings, especially when it comes to your local maps. It'll come to when you're doing ads. So if you eventually do ads, there are very specific ads that can be given to just real estate agents. They appear very uniquely. They actually appear as a card instead of any other SERP. And if you don't know what a SERP is, that is it's a search engine term for a non-traditional link on your Google pages. This includes images, this includes these little cards, that sort of thing. And I think where Matt's getting at is something that you can do today that takes you maybe 30 minutes tops, is you could just Google what's it take to get Google certified. Go do that, go through the process. You enter in your real estate license number. They're going to go through their API integrations to make sure that your license is actually active. And then all of a sudden your profile is built up on your Google My Profile page. And like I said, like he says, this is great for your rankings. This is going to help you. It could put you, like he said, in your market ahead of others when it comes to search, because that is a huge factor. And it puts this little check mark in your Google profile page when people search that you are indeed verified by Google to be a professional that can conduct real estate business.
Hey, Josh, can I go ahead and share I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Sure.
I've got to pull it up because those who are actually watching might be able to see this. So I typed in Fort Myers real estate agent, and as you can see, there's 3 people at the very top, and you're like, well, how do I get to the top? there's this little box that says Google screened, and they've got, you know, what's important is reviews. You want to get some reviews, but that's what this is. And these people pay for this spot to get there, but it's golden.
Mhm.
You know, and so if you had a little bit of money that you wanted to spend in SEO, Google screened or Google verified, definitely something that you want to consider.
This is an SEM strategy. So this is marketing. So this is paid advertising. The SEO portion of it is if Matt was to go into the maps view of Google, you would see that it's slightly different in the rankings, and those cards would still appear even if you're not paying in there. But as he said, like, paying for that spot is definitely golden. It gets you one of the things what I thought was really cool about their program is you can verify whether or not those calls were legitimate calls to you through Google. So you can dispute, no, this was, spammer from XYZ country trying to click to run my cost up. So you can always do those sort of disputes. That is something that we'll cover at another time, a full program on Google. But for now, I think, taking what Mike said and taking what Matt said, sphere of influence is huge right now. If you're going to get some deals today, it's getting in front of your current customers in one way or another, whether that is through direct mail, as Matt said, or as Mike said, when it comes to just making those phone calls again, reaching back out, sending a quick text saying, hey, I know you kind of slipped. I haven't seen you in a while. Let's just go grab a coffee. Let's go grab a beer. Let's connect one more time and see if there's something I can help you with. And then something, hey, if you have anybody, I just want to be at the top of your mind again and getting back there. And both have also talked about condensing. And that's another thing that we need to be looking at is, hey, I've tried YouTube for the last 2 months. It wasn't working. It's not part of my industry or in my marketplace. YouTube may not be the best route. I know a lot of people do know that YouTube has a lot of SEO value, but it's only done if you do it properly. And so it's really important to understand that if your strategy is there, but you're still not executing it properly, you may need to take a step back, take a pause on those things, reevaluate them, and then go forward. Right now you want to do what's working, not necessarily what could work. Let's go into our next question. And the next question is, we're going to take a look at 2-3 months down the road. What can I be doing today to be getting leads 2 to 3 months down the road? Mike, you want to start that one?
Sure. And you speak my language, you talk strategy and execution. So that won't be for, this question or probably today's call, but really that's the big piece, is that you can try all these things, but you need to have a check-in, you need to have a goal, you need to have a long-term vision for these things to work out. And even as you referenced with our first degree connections, that this would the best source for immediate business, is also the best source for short and long-term, 2-3 months down the road. Because if you are putting that text out, you are sending that email, hey, I haven't been in contact, let's catch up over a coffee, that person is going to be perhaps dubious of, well, what are you looking for from me? So if it is just, do you know anybody who can buy a home today because I need that, that is not going to, A, probably be a good conversation. B, it will not be a good long-term source of business. So cultivating those connections, understanding that it's a long-term play, and you are doing that as altruistically as possible. It's not just, if you can't help me today, don't even bother coming for this coffee, because that's all I want. Like if that's your attitude, you're wrong. And that's got to be the mindset. Yep. And the other piece of that is, the lead generation idea that I like is the collaboration piece, is finding a professional in your market that you either have worked with, can speak to your expertise, or that there is some synergy between the two, and hosting events, having programs, having things together where you are buoying each other's influence, expertise, and so forth. The easy one is, there's somebody in my market who's a mortgage broker that I've worked with in the past. We work really well together, and we can speak to this audience. So we do a monthly, a seminar on this. The easy one, the first time home buyer, or it's somebody who's looking to buy. The hot thing now is somebody's looking to real estate investing. It's like, I want to get into this market so I can get some doors, have some apartments, have passive income. So I want to teach that, or I want to partner with somebody to get. So you are now having something to invite somebody to. And that is a good short and long-term play, because when you're at those coffees, when you're having those phone calls, It only goes so far to catch up of how's everything been? This is what I'm doing. Do you know anybody? Great. But it's like, oh yeah, by the way, next Thursday, me and John, the mortgage guy, we host at this local, coffee shop, restaurant, whatever it is. We have just a roundtable conversation where we talk about first time home buying, how to become investor, how to, we introduce to these other people in the market that you may not know. Okay, now I've got something that might be of value to you, and that opens more doors. That doesn't fit for me, but my neighbor was just talking yesterday about how he's really interested in that. And one thing I put in my notes I forgot to mention up front, the best thing I've ever heard about lead generation is think that it's 3 steps, and each step is gonna be a little different. It's your goal is to connect, add value, and then ultimately have a call to action. And that's not just 3 touches. It could be 1 or it could be 100, but understand that's what you're looking to do. I'm looking to connect with this person. I'm looking to show them how I can be a value add for whatever they're looking for. And that when they are ready, there's a call to action for this is how you can reach me. This is easy for you. And sometimes you'll be reaching out to them in the interim, but to know when you're ready, here I am, because here's what I've done. We've connected. So that's the way to think about it. And that's why I really like the collaboration piece, because you can, again, stand on social media, you can stand in your front door and say, hey, I'm the best. You need to work with me. But when you've got somebody else doing that for you, it becomes a lot more persuasive and a lot easier to get in front of buyers and sellers.
Well, I like it's also got energy, right? When you've got 2 people that hype each other up, there's energy around the 2 of you. It's positive, it's vibrant, and people feel that. And I think that's another part that's really important that's missed when maybe we do events and the event is about us and we're the host. But when you're co-hosting, you have that element of double energy. And I think that's just huge. You can also introduce each other to each other's network. There's a lot of great synergy in that. Matt, what you got?
And I think, the last thing you talked about was a call to action, right? I remember in sales class when I was back in 2000, I was a Floyd Wickman. They were the sweat hogs. All right. So that dates me that he taught us how to go get listings. And he would always say, he's like, the number one reason why they interviewed like 100 buyers or sellers. And they asked, like, why did you buy? And the number one reason is because they asked me to. You never forget to ask. That's that call to action. Eventually you got to get to the point where you're like, are you going to do business with me? But you're right. That can't be your contact and every time that you go to meet with them, but you have to close the deal. And that's your call to action. Mike was talking about goals and a plan. And then in the end, accountability. I do think that, we can hold ourselves accountable, but man, if you've got somebody that's kind of holding your feet to the fire, who's going to ask you, hey, so how many people did you call today? Or how many, whatever your metric is, but they're asking you, I think that's the value of a coach. Like, that's why people hire Mike, right? His wisdom and his good looks are one thing, but ultimately he's going to hold them accountable to what they said what they said they're going to do. They have their business plan. If they're not held accountable, I know myself, I'll let myself slack a little bit, right? I'll, not feeling that great today, or I had this event or something that kind of took me off course. And we give ourselves excuses. Our coaches kind of hold our feet to the fire a little bit. So anyway, my thought is also if you want the leads flowing, set up some accountability.
Got it. I am going to kind of add in, I've got a gold mine. Again, this is something. So again, we're talking about tactics that 2 to 3 months from now are going to help you generate leads. And one of those big tactics that you can do that doesn't cost you a lot of money is, I know I'm a Google expert, so I'm going to focus on SEO real quick. And I'm going to focus on SEO, and probably the most easy, again, takes your time. Yes, you're going to have to develop blog. Yes, you're going to have, or write a landing page that answers these things. But there is an absolute gold mine when it comes to ranking in search engines. And one of those things is when I'm searching like things you should know about, and then this is my area again, like Matt and I are in Fort Myers, and take a look at the questions that people ask Google the most, okay? And answer these questions. What I found really interesting, and actually, if you take a look, the very first one that just came up is a real estate company that wrote this blog. right? So now when people are looking, what is it best known for? They're right there. They're the first ones to appear. But by having content on your site early on, again, it takes 2 weeks for Google to first analyze it. And it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks for you to start ranking. That's why I say this is a long-term strategy, is to focus on your SEO. Right now, if you've got time to start writing content, now's the time to do so. And the easiest way to find content is look for what people are asking. Look for what these are. These are Google telling you that people have asked when it comes to your topic. These are the most commonly asked questions. Now, this is like, again, when I say gold mine of things, imagine now every time somebody has searched something around this topic, either things to do, the most, what's the best known for? And this real estate company already gets the gold. They get the rankings. Or better yet, what about when somebody searches for real estate in your area? Are you here? Are you asking the question? Are you answering the questions in your area about this stuff? If you can try your best to write content based off of what people are asking on Google, and specifically in this section, whether it's writing your blog or having pages, you will become a professional of your area. It also gives you content to give anybody who's visiting, right? So you've got people coming to visit, you say, hey, actually, I know you're just coming to visit, you're friends of Mike, you're coming to visit Fort Myers. I just wanted to give you, here's a quick blog that I wrote about the top 5 things that I love to do here in Fort Myers. I just want to give you that. Take a look. You've now become the expert in your area. People are going to sit there and they're going to value that. They're going to value that you are the professional, that you know what you're talking about, whether it's search rankings or you actually have that content to send people.
And I'm sure you planned this, Josh, but that is the really perfect example to crystallize a lot of the things that we talked about. Matt started off by saying, know what's happening in your market, who's buying, who's selling, what questions they're asking. Because a lot of times we'll make the mistake, whether it's a blog, whether it's content of, no one's Googling who's Joe Smith. It's what is Fort Myers real estate? So knowing the questions they're asking and then being able to answer them. And then whether that's a blog or a conversation or whatever you choose for your marketing and prospecting vehicles, that's what people want to know. And are those the people that you're going to be doing business with? So that's a really good example to kind of tie all that together, which I'm sure you planned out methodically beforehand, Josh, but very well done.
Actually, what's really funny is I didn't. I go through this process on a regular basis. So this just becomes background, very natural little flow. So excited. I love sharing SEO strategies like that. That's one of the quickest and easiest ways to take a look at something and say, I can provide value. I can answer that question. What's Fort Myers known for? Yeah, I know that. And if you're the professional in the area, you should be able to answer that. You should do your best to rank for it as well. So I'm excited for that. That's why I said that's like a gold mine. Like, again, it's something that you're not going to get leads today by doing that. It's going to take months until your rankings get up there to get that spot. And then that spot is it's so valuable. But all right. Last thing that we were going to talk about today is those actually leaving the business. We're going to take this as a 2-parter. We're going to begin with how should somebody be leaving the business today? Matt, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. I could definitely share this from my experience because 3 years ago, I moved from Denver, Colorado, down to Fort Myers, Florida, right? And for 3 years, I didn't show a single house in Denver, yet I earned between 70 and 80,000 a year during those 3 years. So I was effectively able to maybe still in the business, but not be there physically. So one of the first things that I did was I teamed up with an agent in my market that I trusted. We worked well together, and as I was getting ready to leave, we spent a couple of months together co-branding. So when people were used to seeing me, they began to be used to seeing Lindsay, and it became Matt and Lindsay, Matt and Lindsay, Matt and Lindsay. So, and eventually we branded that into what was at that time called Protege Real Estate. What that allowed me to do was when people would call me, and I was the employing broker, but I could say, hey, I'm actually down in Fort Myers. I was very honest. I wasn't trying to go like, hey, I'm in your area, but I'm just not available. That would be, disingenuous. I told them I had moved, but I'd been training Lindsay as my protege, and that, she would be able to take care of them from that point. And then it was a very quick handoff. I would have Lindsay call them, and I would give them her information, and then I would follow up with them going, hey, I heard you talk with Lindsay. So, even though I wasn't physically there, I was able to transact business through a partner. So I think anybody who's like, wow, I've had a good run in real estate, but maybe the last year's kind of throwing them for a little bit of a loop, there is a way for you to leave the business. One is finding a partner, another is to set up referrals. But one of the things that I did was, even though I wasn't physically there anymore, I continued to market to my sphere. I still was on Facebook talking about the sales that Lindsay and I did, right? I was there sending emails out. My list, I was doing the direct mail. We took that list and now we combined, and we both were sending the physical mail. And eventually I dropped out of the picture, and it was just Lindsay. So I was able to transition my business over this 3-year period of time. And in fact, it's December, or it's going to be December in a couple of days. I have a referral coming, another one still, this month. So, I think that's one of the things that I think agents need to realize, is that you've spent all this time, all this money, effort creating a business. Whether you've been super successful or not, you still have effort into it. And you still have spirit, and you still have people. And whether you're still going to be in the business actively licensed, or you put your license in referral status, which I don't even know if agents know that they can do this, but there are a lot of companies out there, and many companies have, like EXP that Mike is a part of, they have a referral company where you're not a part of the MLS, you're not allowed to do transactions, but you can receive your referral commissions. So from agents, and that's a great place to partner with people. But you still continue to market to the people, even though you're actively licensed, but you're not out practicing, and partnering with somebody would be good. Mike, any thoughts on that, exiting the business, things that you've heard other agents do well?
Yeah, no, I love that answer for many reasons. I'll be quick on this, I promise. When we first talked about the title for this talk, it was surprising to me that the numbers, because they are staggering. But I thought the one thing that we should get across, I think we've done a good job today, is that while there will be people leaving the business, what we talk about today should be geared towards those who don't want to leave and want to keep going. What can they do to put it into play today, tomorrow, and going forward, so they are not forced out? So I think that we've done a good job on that. And as Matt references, there's lots of different kind of alternatives and ways to run a successful business, even if you are not doing the same things you're doing today. Because truthfully, the real estate model, the way it exists, is probably broken in some degree. At best, a lot of agents are running on a treadmill where they are trying to get clients, they get them to the closing table, and it's like, all right, now I need more clients. So that's really hard to stay on that treadmill. So the lead gen part is the big thing, but you need to be able to generate leads, convert leads, and fulfill your client demands at all times. So that's the kind of the dirty secret in all this, that you need to be doing all of those things, or at some point you're going to hit this wall where you're looking to change what you're doing. And Matt's example of collaboration is generally the best alternative to at least explore up front. Because while that model is broken, there are agencies, there are brokerages, small and large, that are doing things a little differently, where they're allowing people to flourish in kind of tweaked roles. So you might be doing A to Z right now in your business, and that might not be working out, but you might be the most excellent buyer's representative. That it's like, I am great at showing property. I'm great at finding homes. People love going to property with me. There might be somebody in your market who needs your skills, that needs what you do, because they either can't do it, won't do it, or they're not doing it as well as you are. And now you've got this synergy, as Matt describes, where your one-on-one is more than two. So a lot of the time, it's not just, should I stay or should I go? It's, can I do something a little different with the experience I have, with everything I put into it? And is this valuable to somebody else? And a lot of times the answer is yes. If you get to a point where it's like, I'm tired of the market just wreaking havoc on my business, then that might be something else. But the big thing is, you have skills, you have value. Is there a way to kind of turn it on its head a little bit and still work with the core clients that you want, but maybe in a little bit of a different capacity? It's like, wow, this is working great for everybody. And there are alternatives out there for sure.
Well, and I think one of the big referral sources, right? We talk about sphere. Other agents are our sphere in many ways, right? So why not? You've got some agents who are leaving the business. Either they're retiring. It's not all bad. It's not all because of the economy. Some people only did one transaction a year for the last 10 years and they were happy with that. That's fine. But if you can find the agents who are leaving and go, hey, I got a plan. I'm going to help you continue to make money over the next 2 to 3 years or forever, right? It doesn't have to say 2 to 3, but you could continue to do that. If you're the agent who comes up with a plan that says, hey, I'm going to co-brand with you. I'm going to be sending the mailers. I've got the emails put together. I've got the website. I've got the IDX. And all I'm wanting to do is, give me your database, or let's partner on your database. We'll create an agreement between the two of us. You get enough agents that leave the business or that are leaving the business, and you teach them and help them to exit, profitably. Pretty soon they start talking, right? But now you have a lead source that's just as good as your sphere. It's not just your sphere. Maybe it's 5, 10, 15, 20 agent spheres. Oh my goodness. Like I think that's the potential gold mine from this, what we're experiencing, the slowdown in the real estate market.
Matt,
I'm just jumping.
You're jumping to the next question.
Oh, and what? Oh man.
You went from
sorry.
And I just wanted to quickly put this out there before Matt continues to dive into the last question and before Mike puts some comments on it. If you do have any questions, please ask them now. This is a great time to ask them because, again, we are on the last questions. We'll be addressing those in the next 5 minutes here once Mike gives his 2 cents on how to, how or why you should strengthen your relationship with those leaving the business. Again, Matt touched up on it a lot, kind of saying, hey, start those partnerships now, develop that pipeline. You went way ahead to the next one, but that's okay. Mike, what do you got on it?
Yeah, and I was just going to kind of piggyback off Matt, that you always want to come from a position of strength when you're having these conversations, because if you go to somebody who's a market leader or somebody that you're looking to partner with, it's like, man, my business went really poorly and I'm not doing well. I need your book. I need your contacts. They're probably not going to be all that excited to co-brand with you, to partner with you. It's going to be, hey, here's what I can do. And this is helpful to you because of A, B, and C, or I know that this is something you're looking to improve. I can do that for you. So even if it is, something that you may not be looking to do necessarily, look to come to that conversation from a position of strength. It's not like, look, I'm hopeless. You need to take me on because otherwise I'm going to fail. Like nobody is going to sign up for that. So that's the kind of important distinction. But as far as strengthening relationship with others, we hit on a lot of it, that often that's how business gets done in real estate is conversations in and around what's going on, who's at this open house, what's happening there. Did you hear about Mrs. Jones, what she's thinking about her home? And then others, these are people that you've worked with. You generally have a relationship with these people. So even if there is no business interest, there's nothing wrong with taking a genuine interest in, hey, this didn't work out for you. How can I help you out? Because that's the other reason when business comes from. It's like, when I was down in my worst, when I didn't know what to do, you actually took the time to just listen to me, ask me questions, and cared. And because of that, I never forgot that. So if anybody ever asks me who I should talk to buying something, I'm going to think of you because you treated me like a human being at a tough moment for me. So at the very least, if there's somebody in your market that is struggling, looking for someone, if you are ahead of them, help them out. Because those things, while it may not be that person directly, tend to pay off very, very greatly down the road, because you never know when that could be you, or that could be somebody who's doing that for you, and you'll never forget that. So I don't want to get too sentimental, but I think that's the big thing, is that real estate is always going to be a relationship business, as it's the people that we see and do business with. So treating those relationships well and being kind to others never hurts.
Yeah, and I think, going into kind of the strategy between that, right? How do you build that relationship? So I'm going to let the two of you kind of answer that. Is it through events, like co-branding events with somebody that may need that extra lead gen boost in your area? Is it cold calls to agents in your area to see, hey, look, let's develop a network? Is it LinkedIn? Is it that social media aspect? I want to say LinkedIn, because when we say social media, the first two things is like Instagram, Facebook. That's not going to be your best bet for introducing, I think, going between relationship with other agents. I think LinkedIn is a little bit better. You can take a look at networks easier. But all right, so guys, what do you think? Where's, out of those three, what's the hot one for you? What do you see? You can take a second. This is an off the cuff question, so these guys got to think a little bit more about it.
It's funny. Immediately I started to think, well, the first person I would talk to is my employing broker, right? I would go like, hey, who do you know in the company that could use a little bit of help? And I would, genuinely want to try to help that person in their business. And if that ended up, we work out a partnership, or we're they still, hey, I'm going to tap out, and I still help them with their sphere or whatever, then that's great. But I would genuinely want them to succeed. And I was thinking, what would I tell somebody right now? I know that there's agents that are listening to us and that are part of our platform that are just like, I'm just trying to make my payment this month, right? I had a business that was really growing. The slowdown. I'm just trying to pay my bills. What do I do? How do I help that person? And I guess that's a question, Mike. If somebody came to you, an agent who's like, I'm at my end of my rope, I'm not even able to make my bills, or I'm really struggling to, what would you tell them? What would you do?
Yeah, and I promise I'm not ducking your question, Josh, but what I circled on my little note sheet over here as you asked it, I've got a list of all these lead generation tactics, and the one that I have at the end it's not because I'm clever or creative, it's just the 3 question marks. And for me, the important thing with all of my clients is that we understand that everybody's business has a specific set of circumstances that are specific and perhaps unique to them. So we can talk about all of these things. And the general dirty secret with these tactics is that they all probably are going to work, but they work differently for different people and how you employ them. So the answer to which social media platform, yes, you can get them all to work. But the reason why I think it's important, and what I would do if somebody asked me that question, is we would look backwards at their specific business first. What has worked in the last 30 days? What has worked in the last quarter? What has worked in the last year? And you might find, well, you might be that person who sold one property, and that's going to be really hard to replicate because of X, Y, and Z. Or, you don't have the stability built up in your business that works. But who might? People in your market have been doing this so what's working for them? What can we transpose from them that works for you? Because the other mistake people make, it's like, well, man, Janie is killing it in my market. I'm going to just do what she's doing. Well, that's not going to work, because 1, you're not Janie. You don't have her resources. You don't have her list. You don't have everything. And even if you did everything she did, you don't have any of the same circumstances that she did. So that's why that's the mistake. So, but if you can apply those principles to A, your business, and then B, what has worked for you in the past, that's how you can have immediate and future success. So the hard question is, have I done this before? And if it's yes, how did I do it? And making it very simple. That's really what we do. We simplify agents' business models. What's working really well for you? Okay, can we do that more often? Can we maximize that? Oh, yeah, we can. Or this is what's working in your market. Can you do this? Sure. Let's do that as often as possible. So the answer would be just make things as like things that have worked in the past for you, ideally. And if not for you, for your market, for people that you want to work with, that makes sense with your personality, with your expertise. Because if you try to do things that is outside of your comfort level or outside of your expertise level, most likely you're going to get yourself into more trouble than a successful landing spot.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Matt, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I remember when we were when Mike and I were talking before, he's like, so many people jump from one thing to the other, trying to find the easy button, right? And success, if you look for success and what's worked for you in the past, why did it work, and try to replicate that, not keep trying to recreate the wheel. So no, I love it.
And I'm going to just jump in there. The other thing is that just because something did work in the past, that's not an answer for the reason to be doing it. It's why did it work in the past? And if you understand that why, it's a lot easier. And, I sold homes. I hear it too much. I've sold homes for 30 years. So I'm going to just keep doing it. Maybe, but what was the kind of why that it's worked for 30, and how can, because the market's always going to change. How can we make that work for this market going forward as well?
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to open it up for closing remarks. We don't have any questions. We've kind of answered any questions that came up, which is awesome for us.
Even out of order.
Yeah, because we went out of order. But Matt, give us a quick rundown. Again, who you are, what you do, and a little recap of what you got out of today's conversation.
Yeah, I think my name is Matt Kuchar, founder of Shawami, successful real estate broker in 2 states. I've done over 500 transactions and helped other agents with probably another 500 more who are in my office. The things that I got out of today, especially, were what Mike was, when he was talking about the trying with your sphere, keeping in touch with them and being effective at it. And what you were talking about with the Google, looking at what people are searching for and giving them what they need. So those are the things that I had gotten out of today.
Awesome. Mike?
Very nice, Matt. I'm Mike Solitro of AccomplishedRE. I believe I'm the only real estate solution out there that looks to really partner with each of our clients, because I believe each business is kind of unique in what they're doing. So we like to see, like I said, what's working, how can we make that more often outcome for you? So what I found today's conversation helpful for me was that if you love real estate, you're in real estate, but you're not sure of where to go to next, there are alternatives. There are things that you can do today and tomorrow to build a business immediately and going forward. And if you don't know, it's okay to lean on people in your network, both in and out of real estate, to augment your business or to build up new lead generation sources, so that you can't be frustrated that the market has changed, because market is always going to change in real estate. It's how can I build or run a business that understands the market's going to change, and when it does, I'm ready here and we're ready to go. So I think that was helpful kind of to hear today, that there's different ways to do those things, and you need to know what you bring to the equation that others don't.
I agree. I think this is a good charge up for people. Like this is to help you, grow your real estate business. Like we said, we wanted to cover topics of today, tomorrow, in the future. What can we do? Thank you again, everybody, so much for joining us. Again, my name is Josh Kuchar. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales here at Shawami. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining today's webinar.